Okay, we are looking at rewriting the statement in an if-then form. Apple pie tastes best when fresh. Okay? Shh. So we're going to rewrite this. Okay? Number 1, if the apple pie tastes best, then it was made with fresh apples. Okay. Anybody have a question about that one? Yes.
So does our answer be exactly like yours?
So the issue, no, it does not have to be exactly like mine. For here, I'm going to zoom out and hopefully this won't crash all over the place. Okay. All right. So the issue is it has to have the hypothesis, which is apples taste best, first, made with fresh apples second. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Number 2, what is the converse? Are we listening? What is the converse of if we are in school, then it is not Sunday? Converse means to what it? Flip it. So, if it is not Sunday, good, then we are in school. It doesn't have to be true. We're just making it. It does not have to be true. We're just flipping it. Shh. Okay. 3. I'm going to try to zoom in for this. Shh. For 3, which statement about conditional state, please stop having side conversations. Which statement about conditional statements, if 2 segments are congruent, then the segments are equal is true? Okay? So if 2 segments are congruent, then the segments are equal. So the converse would be, if the segments are equal, then the 2 segments are congruent, correct? So is the converse true or false? If the segments are equal, then the segments are congruent? It's true. Congruent and equal are the same thing. So it is true. So I know I can use the first one. This statement can be written as a biconditional statement. Yes, right? So this statement is false would not be something that I could choose. So I know that I can use 1 and 2, B. So I know the answer is B. 1 and 2 are both true. So I can use those. Shh. Okay, we're going to look at 4. We're going to use this to answer the questions from 4 to 6. If x squared equals 16, then x equals 4. Write the contrapositive in words and in symbolic form. So contrapositive means, I'm going to do the symbolic form first. Not Q to not P. You're correcting your answers right now, right? Okay. You're reading your paper in front of you. Okay. So, if x doesn't equal 4, then x squared doesn't equal 16. I flipped them and changed them from equals to not equals. You could literally write the words not and then the equal sign or not equals and write it out. This is just a quick way to do it. We're going to write the inverse and then in symbolic form. Who knows what the symbolic form for inverse would be? Go ahead, Madison. Not P to not Q. Okay. So if x squared doesn't equal 16, then x doesn't equal 4. Okay. Questions so far? Yes, Michaela. Word pass. All right. Write the converse in words and then symbolic form. Let's do the symbolic form first, though. Who knows the symbolic form for converse? Go ahead, Zach. Q to P. Okay, so that's if x equals 4, then x squared equals 16. How are we feeling about this so far? Good? Okay. So, inverse, put the knot. Converse, flip it. Contrapositive, do both. Okay? Can only have biconditional if the converse and the conditional statement are both true. Okay. Write the converse of the statement. If you are a Homo sapien, then you are a man. So let's do that first. So I'm going to write, who wants to say it? If what? If you are a man, good. Then you are a Homo sapien. Make sure you sign out, okay. All right, so we did that. If the converse is true, combine it with the original statement to form a true biconditional statement. If it is false, give it a counterexample. Is this statement true or false?
I mean, it's true, but it's also false.
Okay. When we say man, let's say we mean boy. Okay? Now does that change it? If I think of man as not like mankind, but as like a boy,
Yeah, true.
then it's false, right? Why is it false?
Because women, you're a woman, you're a woman.
Women are Homo sapiens. Questions about that? I would not give you one that ambiguous where it's like we didn't know if it was man or mankind. I would make it more for the quiz, for the test. All right, we ready to turn it over? Questions on the front before I do? Feel pretty good? Okay. Tell me the name that describes this the best. Parallelogram. I have a lot of people tell me that it's a rhombus. Why is it not a rhombus?
Because all sides are equal.
All the sides would have to be equal to make it a rhombus, right? Okay. This shape, I had so many people not know what it is. What happens if I turn it this way, though? Does this help? Kite. And we know it's a kite because it doesn't have any what? No parallel sides, so I know it has to be a kite. And it has adjacent congruent sides, yes. Okay, is it true that all parallelograms are rhombuses, rhombi? False. What if I said it the other way? Are all rhombuses parallelograms? Yes. Okay, good. The diagonals of a parallelogram always bisect. Okay. Well, if I did. Which type of quadrilateral has no parallel sides? We just discussed this one. What are they? Kite. Kite. Trapezoids do have one set of parallel sides. Okay? If all four sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, the quadrilateral is just the only thing I know about it is that it has four congruent sides. Yeah, Nick? Only thing I know. So a rhombus and a square both have congruent sides, but what also has to be true to make it a square? I have to have four right angles. So if I have four congruent sides and that's all I'm giving, I definitely know it's a rhombus, but it is inconclusive that it's a square. Does that make sense? Because I would have to know also that it has four congruent angles. All right, this one I think I need a piece of paper out for to talk about it. What is the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning? What is the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning? So inductive reasoning is what?
Using patterns.
Inductive reasoning is drawing a conclusion based on patterns. And I would do this too. We've got to do this in 4 sentences, right? So then I would say, an example of that would be, example would be 2, 4, 6, 8. We know 10 comes next. Because it goes up by 2s. Okay? Ready? Deductive reasoning means what?
Use facts.
Deductive reasoning is drawing a conclusion using facts. For example, (2x equals 10). We divide by 2. And get x equals 5. We used the known fact of to get rid of a multiplication, we do the inverse, the division. Questions? That's a nice little chunk of paragraph. You want to get full credit, got to have those 4 sentences. Questions about this? I won't. You can. I would do different examples so that I don't think you're all cheaters, but but something like that. So instead of counting up by 2s, some people could count by 3s or 4s, right? Instead of doing 2x equals 10, somebody could do, like 25x equals 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, question. Nina, did you have a question? Okay. Okay, can I move it now? Yes, no? Yes? Okay. All right. Be able to construct a rectangle on patty paper. We did this yesterday. I recorded it. I put it up there. It should be on the previous video of how to do it with patty paper, how to make a square with a compass, and how to be able to construct a kite with a mirror. Okay? All right. Now we are going to do the, I'll get that in a second. Given a quadrilateral ABC, figure out what shape it is. Okay, so first I'm going to start with a piece of graph paper. I looked at this and I'm like, okay, all of this is in the first quadrant, so you could change your graph to like this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. You don't need this much room, so you could also do it just in one quadrant if you like. I want to make it as big as possible here. Okay, so A is over 2 up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. There's A. Okay. B is over 7, up 11. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's B. C is over 11 up 1. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 up 1. Here's C. And D is over 6 up 4. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up 1, 2, 3, 4. There's D. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I use a straight edge to do this. You guys, the rulers are really helpful, I think, in a lot of ways, also for the constructions. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this graphically and with the formula. Okay, so first we are going to name the 4 sides and find all of their lengths. Okay, so I've got A to B. So if I was going to do this graphically, I would go like this. It makes my happy little triangle. And to go over from A to B is 5. And it goes down 11, 12, 13, 14, 3. Okay? So that's 5 squared plus 3 squared. And I can square root that. Right? And I get the square root of 34, which is 5.83. Yep. And I could have done this way too. I could have said that 2 minus 7 squared plus 14 minus 11 squared. And I would have gotten the same answer, 5.83. And then I'm going to find the slope of AB at the same time just because I don't want to move down. This is 3, down 3, to the right 5. Okay? And then B to C. B to C is right here. Okay? I know it's down 10 over 4. So B to C should be 10 squared plus 4 squared. Which gives me 10.7. Or it is the square root of, yes. That's fine, 10.8, I would give you full credit for that. Yep. So we're going to go 7 minus 11 squared plus 11 minus 1 squared. And we will get the same thing, 10.77. I just wanted to make sure you guys see both ways. And then for B to C, we went down 10 to the right 4, which reduces to negative 5 halves. Okay. Then we're going to look D to C. For D to C, I went over 5 up 3. So D to C gives me 3 squared plus 5 squared, which gives me 5.83. And I can also do it the algebraic way, which we're doing C to D. So we're going to go 11 minus 6 squared plus 1 minus 4 squared. Gives me the same answer. And D to C is 3 over negative 5 is my slope. Okay, and A to D. I know this is a long process, but some people are still having trouble doing this, so I want to make sure I do this. Okay, 10 and 4. So that's the square root of 10 squared plus 4 squared. Or A to D, which is the square root of 2 minus 6 squared plus 14 minus 4 squared, which we will get the same answer, which is 10.77 or 10.8. And it is up 10, but to the left 4, so that's negative 5 halves. That's A to D. Shh. Okay. So I have found all my lengths and I have found all my slopes. I did B and C on here the same. Now we've got to name and find the lengths of the diagonals. So the lengths of the diagonals are A to C and D to B. Okay. So we are looking at those. Trying to get out my colored pencil so you guys can see. Okay, so I'm literally doing this. Over and up. So D to B. D to B, I'm going one squared plus seven squared. I'm putting that in my calculator. Gives me 7.07. And you could do it the algebraic way again as well. You can go 6 minus 7 squared plus 4 minus 11 squared. You'll get the same answer. And the slope is going to be up 7 over negative 1 or negative 7. And then A to C, I'm going to do the same thing. We've got 9 squared plus 13 squared, or the square root of 2 minus 11 squared plus 14 minus 1 squared. And we get 15.8. And we get 13 over 9 is our slope. Okay? So last but not least, we've got to figure out the midpoints. And I've run out of room, so I'm going to do it on this side. Yep, it says it right there on your review. And you had to do it on your quiz as well. So we're going to go A to C. The midpoint is 2 plus 11 divided by 2. 14 plus 1 divided by 2. So 2 plus 11 divided by 2, we get 6.5. 14 plus 1 divided by 2, we get 7.5. And then D to B, or B to D, we're going to go 7 plus 6 divided by 2. And 11 plus 4 divided by 2, and we get 6.5, comma 7.5. Okay. So we've got the length of the sides. So I'm going to go back to where I was to talk about this. Do we agree that opposite sides are congruent? We've got, let me zoom out a little bit. We've got opposite sides are congruent here. We've got opposite sides are parallel. Do we have anything is perpendicular? These are not opposite reciprocals, are they? Like negative 3 over negative 5 should be positive 5 over 3. We don't have that. Are the diagonals equal? Nope. Are they perpendicular? This is 13/9 and negative 7. Are the midpoints the same? Yes. Okay, we're going to say, what shape is it? Is it a rectangle, rhombus, square, trapezoid? It's a parallelogram. Okay, let's list the reasons why. 1, Opposite sides are what? Congruent. What else? Opposite sides are what? What else? Diagonals are not equal. Or perpendicular, not perpendicular. What else do we know about the diagonals, though? What's the last thing we did? Diagonals bisect. Questions about that? Okay, you know you can use Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula to find the length of the sides. You can use the slope formula or just like how much did I go up, how much did I get over for the slope. You're going to have to do it for 4 sides, lengths and slopes. Then you have to find the lengths and slopes of the diagonals and the midpoints of the diagonals, and then tell me what shape it's going to be and why. This is just like what we did on our last quiz. Okay, any questions at all on the whole review that you want me to go over again? I can go over the constructions too if you want. Do you guys have any question on inverse, converse, contrapositive, biconditional? Yes.
How do you find the diagonals like on the
You want to do the graph one? Yeah. You like to do the drawing one, not the formula?
Well, how would I find the formula? Like, how
Oh, okay. So we can do that one more time. All right, we're looking for A to C, for example. Okay? So A is 2, 14, correct? And C is 11, 1. Here's my formula. My formula is x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared underneath the square root sign.
I have another question.
Yes.
It's probably stupid.
No.
How did you find those points 2, 14?
I looked right here. See how they're not next to each other? That makes up the diagonal. That's a really good question. I answer that a lot. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to label these. I'm going to do it in a different color so you guys can kind of see. X1, Y1. X2, Y2. Yeah? So far, so good? Okay. And then I'm just going to put it in the equation. I put 2 minus 11 squared plus 14 minus 1 squared. I just wanted you guys to see where it came from. Okay? And so I put that in my calculator just like that. Sometimes I put in extra parentheses because we have to make sure it's all under the square root sign. Okay? So I put square root, extra parentheses, 2 minus 11, end parentheses squared, plus 14 minus 1, end parentheses squared, end parentheses, and I get 15.8. Or 15.81. Yeah? Now you also don't have to do it that way. You could, if we're looking right here, this is A to C, this length. So I could say, okay, all the way from here, all the way over. Okay? So I went from, this is 13, and this right here from A to C is 9, and then 13 squared plus 9 squared, square rooted. Yeah? So either way is fine. I think when we do the diagonals, sometimes it's easier to do it on with a formula, just because it gets kind of messy and crazy here. Other questions? So you guys feel comfortable with the midpoint formula? You add the x's, divide by 2, add the y's, divide by 2, yeah? Diagonals, we found the lengths. To find the slopes, you know, I'd be like, okay, negative 13 over positive 9, right? Find, which I did not put down here correctly, so make sure you fix it. It should be negative 13 over positive 9. Okay? We know how to find the slopes of the sides. We know how to find the lengths of the sides. We know how to pick which shape it is. Okay. You guys feel comfortable making a kite with a mirror, a square with a compass, rectangle with patty paper? You know the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning? Okay, we've talked about that four sides of quadrilateral congruent. The quadrilateral can only be a rhombus because it didn't say anything about the angles. No parallel sides is a kite. What shape has one set of parallel sides? One set of parallel sides. Trapezoid, good. Diagonals of a parallelogram always bisect. Rhombuses are parallelograms, but parallelograms aren't rhombuses. We know how, if we have a true statement, so let's do just one more and then I'll leave you guys alone. All right, let's make this statement right here, if two segments are congruent, then the segments are equal, into a biconditional statement. So first, the converse would be, if the segments are equal, then the two segments are congruent. Okay, so if we were to change this into a biconditional statement, we would use this and we would say two segments are congruent what? Good. If and only if what? The segments are equal. Questions, comments about biconditional statements? We feel good about converse, inverse, contrapositive. Making an if-then statement in the first place. Can you name, I know I told you I would stop, but just concerned. Can you name all the shapes that have perpendicular diagonals? Can you name me one shape? Kite. Square, good. Rhombus, that's it. Square, rhombus, and kite. Which shapes have congruent diagonals? Rectangle. Quadrilateral, square, has congruent diagonals. One more. What kind of trapezoid? It's isosceles trapezoid. Okay, I'm all done.